Right, y'all. So good morning, everyone. As Bonnie has stated, we will be talking about performance review preparation and getting yourself ready for your annual review. This is in partnership with my company, which is in engagement in HR. What's that, Bonnie? Sorry. All right. So first of all, my disclaimer. We all work for different companies. We all do different things. So we have to be mindful of where we are. So I have yours, mine, theirs, my job, their company, all of that. We never know where people work, how companies do things. You have private organizations, government organizations, public. So there are different rules and regulations that some follow a little bit more than others. Some have to follow, some do not have to follow. Organizations still have the good old boy mentality. Some are very progressive and willing to, do things like diversity, equity, and inclusion and are really into it and want to make a difference. Some are not as progressive. They will say they have a DEI program, act like they have a DEI program in the moment that all of that is happening, but sometimes it doesn't work quite that way. Some companies are stagnant. They want to do different things, but they're afraid to do them. Then you have those that are focused 100% on productivity and profits, as Bonnie mentioned earlier. So just be mindful that as we go through this presentation, I'm giving you information that helps you prepare for your annual review. Now, what the company does when we get down to the details, you're going to have to then decide if this is the right place for you or if you need to move on based on your career goals and what you are looking to do with your career. All right, so our focus points for today, I will have a scripture reference. We'll talk about what a performance review is, why performance reviews are important, how you prepare for one, what to bring to a performance review meeting, as well as some other things that I always like to go over when I do a presentation. For the scripture, Second Corinthians 8:10-11. And here is my judgment about what is best for you in this matter. Last year, you were the first not only to give, but also to have the desire to do so. Now finish the work. Do that your eager willingness to do it may be matched by your completion of it according to your means. So typically, we all have an annual review the year before, whether you're with the company that you are with or if you're with another company. You've had a review last year. You were the first to, understand what's happening. You had a desire to do something. The company has a desire for you to do something. So finish that work. Be eager in your willingness. Okay. All right. So be eager in your willingness to do what you were called to do in that job. But also, as Bonnie said, go above and beyond, do a little bit more, and we'll kind of talk through that in a moment. Okay, there are several performance review styles, even more than what I have on the screen, but these are kind of the basics, the ones that you may get to see within your career at any company typically. Self-evaluation is basically when the company allows you to kind of write your performance review. They tell you, okay, we want to see this many goals. We want to talk to these things that you feel like is crucial in your actual job, basically your job duties. And then they're going to talk through what are some things that you can potentially work on? Where are things that you are lacking in? Then you and your manager or supervisor will get together, discuss those things, and then we'll move forward, right? The most common one is the graphics rating, which is basically, you have a scale from 0 to 5. Everybody's typically getting that average 2.5 or 3 in each section of that performance review based on, the different metrics that they're grading you at. And then at the end of it, they average it up, you get a number, that's your performance review number. And that's what your increase is based on related to your salary. Developmental checklist. So typically this is when they are looking, actually both developmental and critical incident. This is when they are looking at an individual that they want to actually promote into another position. And they're trying to see if they can get them ready. They have they know how to do the job. They want to do the job, but they lack in certain other skills. Could be soft skills, could be, actually being a manager, understanding, what it takes to be a manager when working with other people. So they develop these lists and just basically jot down different things that they feel like you need to work on. And if there's something, and I hate to say this, but it's realistic, Um, in HR, we recognize when people have biases, such as their races. They may say some things that are very inappropriate. Those are the critical incident ones. They will basically try to get you trainings. We'll get them trainings and have them working with certain groups of people in order to kind of get that checklist checked off so they can still move that person up. And then a 360 review. Typically, these are going to be for people that are in either supervisor roles or management role, executive level roles, things like that. This is when they basically pick a few people that you have worked with, you worked around, and they allow them to do a review of you with, again, certain criteria that they're looking at to see how your peers think of you or what your peers think of you before they move you up that scale. So just be mindful of that. But for the most part, we are going to be focusing on a graphics rating type performance review. All right. Why do so many people have issues with performance reviews? First of all, most performance reviews are going to be pencil whipped because one of the other things, most managers are very poorly trained on how to do a performance review. So if you were to be able to see performance reviews, especially if you have certain people working in one department, they all kind of have the same job, they're all going to be pencil whipped. They're all going to basically have the same goals. They may have the same complaints unless somebody sticks out in a different way. But most of them are just, we're going to put the same thing for everybody because they're all in the same role. They should all have the same goals. That's not true because we're all individuals. We all want to do different things in our career. Yeah, but some of the basic things that we do related to our jobs, those may be the same. But when it comes to my goals versus Bonnie goals versus Leslie's goals, they're going to be different. So when you look at performance reviews, you will be able to see that. And I've seen that many times working in HR. There's no real follow-up. So typically what happens, you get your performance review, you don't speak or talk about these things again until about a month before your next performance review. Again, this is an issue because if I have issues in my job, I should know that prior to, me getting my performance review, right? Sometimes, most times, you don't find out there's an issue until your performance review, right? So be mindful of that. I'm going to suggest that you meet with your manager on a regular basis, your supervisor on a regular basis, just so you can get in front of any issues that could potentially come about. They're not accurate. Again, pencil whipping. Different people are treated differently when it comes to performance reviews. At certain levels, they don't matter. A lot of hourly positions, they don't really matter. Depending on where you are within the organization, certain people are expected to be in this role and just be in that role forever. Yeah, you may get your annual increase, based on a 2.5 score that you receive from your performance review. But, they really don't expect people in certain roles to want to aspire to be anything other than what they're doing. Increases aren't always based on performance. And this also goes with budget limits. So I have worked in several organizations where your rating, that 3 or that 4 or that 2.5, has already been established before anybody has even thought about a performance review. So again, budgets dictate that people have to be within certain levels within the organization, which is very realistic when you think about it, because everybody can't get a 4, everybody can't get a 5, but at least do my review first before you start grading me, and let me, have some input there, right? I spell leadership wrong, my bad, but leadership's biases, again, we talked about this a little bit earlier. We all have our biases, but there are times when those biases should not come into play. I'm here to do a job. I do my job. These are the goals that I want to accomplish. These are the things that I see I need to work on. Let's focus on the facts. Bringing your personal feelings into it can be an issue. And that can be from both sides, the employee side as well as the leader side. But at the same time, we all have biases, and sometimes they're not checked when we're doing performance reviews. It's mostly a one-way talk. We come into our meeting with our manager, our supervisor, we talk, they talk to us. We may say a couple of words here and there, but for the most part, we're both looking at this document and they're saying, well, this is the goal, or, the metric, and this is what you receive. And, some of us will go back and forth with them, but for the most part, we know that it doesn't make a difference. So we don't really say much. but we shouldn't do that. These are two-way conversations. They do not address DEI because, certain people work differently based on their background, their culture, things like that. And performance reviews typically don't take that stuff into account. We have inconsistent ratings because, again, people's biases. You may have an employee that is someone who's always working, just working, working, working. They're on time. They're doing what they're supposed to do, but they're only focused on their job. But then you have another person who may be, someone who's, doing their job, but at the same time, they could be doing a little bit more in their job, but they're over here trying to do this and over there trying to do that, talking to this person and talking to that person. But they have a really good relationship with that supervisor because that supervisor knows they know the job, they can do the job. And if I need them to work overtime or come in on a Saturday, they'll do it. So, even though I'm over here doing my job and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I don't want to work weekends because I value, work-life balance. But this person over here, yeah, he knows the job and he can do it. And he's willing to work, overtime or whatever. They're going to rate him a little bit higher because of his willingness to do more. So again, inconsistent ratings because of biases and things like that. Again, poorly trained managers. The halo and horn effect, which is basically kind of like that, what I just said. You have this employee over here who's going above and beyond doing other things outside of their job, or doing things within their job, but at the same time, they kind of have a halo on, like, oh, he's willing to do whatever, whatever. But then they look at other people and they say, oh, and this could be really the employee is a negative, because they come to work, they do their job, and they don't want to do anything else. You can tell it in their personality. You can tell it in their body language. Exactly. They don't want to do anything. So it is what it is. The recency effect, and this happens a lot. I hate to say it, but it does. You could be doing well all year long. Maybe 2 months, a month before your review, something happens that kind of affects whether it's a positive or a negative. That manager will focus on that thing that happened 2 months or 1 month before your review versus everything else that you've done, right? You could have been the worst employee in the world, right? But you come in and you come up with some program, or you create some policy, or you look at a piece of machine and you fix it. And oh my God, you have saved the company $2 million, in this month. They're going to focus on that, right? Forget all the negative stuff that you've done. And even on the opposite side of that, you've been doing an amazing job this whole year. Something happens, I don't know, whatever it is. You do something, it's wrong. That's what your manager is focusing on, right? Even though you fix it, even though everything worked out, but because it made a whole stink, the CEO found out about it, whatever, that's what they're going to focus on. So be mindful of that. Most managers are not held accountable for not doing them, or not doing them completely, I should say. Working in HR, dealing with supervisors specifically, they hated to do performance reviews because they were also the ones out there in the field working, doing what they needed to do, making sure that the employees were doing their job, dealing with any issues or problems. So they really didn't want to do them. And most of them understand that they aren't, what they're supposed to be. So they're like, So then you would have typically that manager that's over them to basically go through, fill them out, meet with the supervisor, get their comments on each individual, change it up a little bit, and then have the supervisor to sit with that employee and do them. So in that instance, you can't hold the supervisor accountable. The manager is really not supposed to be involved to that level because the supervisor is supposed to actually fill it out, do that part, meet with the manager, talk about these employees, and then decide, once the conversation is had with the employee, what that score should be or what that grade should be. But because you have other people working on them and everything happening, they just don't hold them accountable. And then you can't really do it because they don't really know how to do the performance review anyway. So it is what it is. No team assessment, just individuals. And this has been something for me. I've always asked about this for years. We are working as a team. There should be a team assessment, right? Not just everything focused on me, on me, on me, on me. I should be able to give feedback to my coworkers. They should be able to give feedback on me. We should be able to talk about what we do, as a group, really. But there's never any of that in a performance review. And then again, budget limits. Okay. Why they're important. So number one and number two kind of go together. You as the employee are providing feedback to your manager, your supervisor, to the employer itself, about the culture, about how they do things that the employee, the employer, or the manager could do better. This is what should happen. I don't know if many of you have had the opportunity to do this, but for the most part, you aren't asked how I am as a manager or how I am as a supervisor or your thoughts on the company as a whole. You're only asked to provide your thoughts on the feedback that they're giving you if they ask you for your feedback. But if this was done properly, as it should be, then it should improve performance for the employee, the manager, the supervisor, and the company as a whole. If a performance review is done correctly, it will promote engagement and effort as well as retention. So engagement means as an employee, I am engaged in my job, I am engaged in this company, I am engaged in the success of this organization, and I want to see, it all of us be successful, right? So I'm also going to put in forth more effort. I'm also going to stay here longer, which is retention. I'm staying here. We are retaining our employees, right? So if it is done properly, this would be a benefit of that. We get to understand our employees and their interests. When in a performance review, they typically ask you, what do you want to do in the future? Like, where do you see yourself, right? This is an opportunity for supervisors, managers to get to know their employees, see what their interests are. Is this role right for them? Or should we put them into another role? Or should we try them in another role temporarily? Or should we cross train them in a different role? These are the opportunities that they have to kind of figure out. You're a good employee. This role may not be what you're interested in, but you're here, you're working, you're getting it done. But let me know what your other interests are, right? Then there are target opportunities. So there are opportunities for development and training. So if just me, for example, being in HR, as Bonnie said, I didn't start out in HR. I started out as an administrative. Actually, at that time, I was a receptionist slash HR assistant, working directly for the director, the HR director, and I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I don't know if any of you know my history, but after high school, I moved to New Jersey for like a year. I came back home. I went to Vance Granville. I went to Durham Tech. I went back to Vance Granville. I think I went to Durham Tech again. Then I finally transferred to Central, or North Carolina Central. And then I finally went to UNC Charlotte, got my bachelor's in political science because I wanted to be an attorney. However, I felt at this time, I don't know how old I was. I was a adult student. So I was like, I had bills, I had stuff going on. So law school just wasn't going to do it. So then I got my master's. But these are opportunities these are chances for you to target opportunities for employees, right? Development. What do you want to do with yourself, right? So if you say, well, I want to work in HR, but I work in software. Okay, so example, Bonnie. She loves software, she loves what she's doing, but she also loves dealing with people and kind of like the training part of it. So she has been in conversations with her employers about potentially finding a role that would allow her to do something like that, right? There's an opportunity there because if they say, okay, Bonnie, you want to work in HR on the training side, there's an opportunity for Bonnie to go to some sort of training program or take a class or two to kind of help her understand, the basis of HR, even though she kind of has that, but they don't know fully what she knows. So there's an opportunity for them to send her to a training. There's an opportunity there for her to go and just shadow someone in HR who's already doing that job, or go in and help, maybe temporarily put her in that role on a full-time basis, just to see how it goes. Of course, with, management watching or whatever, just so she don't make any mistakes or do anything crazy. But again, when you are in these meetings, these are chances for you to say, this is what I want to do. And then it's an opportunity for your manager or your supervisor to say, hey, okay, let's see what we can do there. Right. All right. And then the other thing is succession planning. So every company that I know of is always looking at succession planning if they're doing anything right. You got to know who's going to be who's going to succeed forward once Bill or Bobby or Sharon, who's in the executive roles, who's in the higher level manager roles, when they leave, who's going to replace them? We need to have successors for those people, right? So they're always doing succession planning, and they always have these top 3 or 4 people that are going to, kind of replace those people. You'll know them in your company. You'll see them. You may have a supervisor who's in management meetings who shouldn't be in management meetings. Why? Because he's probably one of those successors who's going to take over after, someone retires, someone dies. Like, they literally have people lined up to take these positions, just in case something happens to the individual, or they decide to retire. I mean, leave, go to another company. They gotta have someone ready to take that role. Now, with that, you want to be one of those top performers, but they do have 3 different levels. They have top performers, mid-level performers, and then low, right? The low ones, they have the skills typically as it relates to actually knowing the job and being able to do the job, but they don't have the people skills, or they may not have a degree. They may be working on their degree. These are the people that the company will send out to get their degrees if it's necessary. Mid-level, they have the degrees, they're kind of ready, still need a little bit of development, but then they have the top levels. They're basically ready. We may need to give them a few more opportunities to go do some of the stuff that those top level people do. So they put them in those meetings, they send them on trips with them, like they do, they put forth that effort. So be mindful of that. Look around your company and see if you see that happening. And then last but certainly not least, there is the recognition and the reward. You're getting recognition that you're doing a good job, and that reward is going to be your merit increase at the end of the day. Okay. Keep doing this to me. All right. So what do you do to prepare? I have a whole list. I'm going to try to take a little bit of time and kind of walk through each one of them. These things are usually over in an hour, but we're clearly going to go over an hour today. If you have to leave, do so. Again, it's going to be on YouTube. However, I would like for you to stay and, ask your questions towards the end. All right. So to prepare. First of all, know your job and track what you are doing to be successful in your role. Okay. Know your job description. Get a copy of your job description to know what you're supposed to be doing, right? And at the same time, most job descriptions are going to say, and anything else management deems appropriate, right? And that can get you in trouble. However, just be mindful that they can ask you to do things here and there that may not fit, in that job description, right? Whenever you're working and going through things, keep your manager abreast of any issues or just overall progress in specific projects that are going on. And that's where I say meet with your manager on a regular basis so that, you guys are on the same page. He or she knows what you're doing, and they know that if you're having some issues, this is why I'm not able to get this done. So that they'll know, at least you're being proactive in letting them know that there's an issue. Save examples of all projects successes, you going above and beyond, you helping other teams, meaning outside of your department with projects, any committee participation, anything outside of your regular tasks. Take note of that and make sure that you are writing it down. Committee participation. I know a lot of us really don't like to do that stuff because, it's a little bit extra, a little bit more than your job. But these committees can kind of get you in front of people that you typically may not be in front of. Being on one of these committees may bring out some abilities that may be needed in another position. A manager may be on this committee who's over that or that side of the organization or that department, and they may show interest in you. And if you're really good at this and you're doing well in that committee, then that may be something that you might be interested in doing. Could come with more pay. You never know. So if you have the opportunity to participate in any kind of extra committee that your company has, and you have any kind of interest, please do so. If you have an opportunity to help another team with a project or anything they may have going on, do it well, and make sure that you are tracking that. All right, save examples of accolades from clients, coworkers, vendors, etc. Everything counts, because when you're going through your performance review and they're saying this, and this, when you've done this, and this, and you have emails from clients, coworkers, you have, emails from vendors, you can come back and say, hey, I've been doing this, and this. And these individuals have said so. So what you are saying does not match up. We need to talk about that, right? Track any improvements from your prior year's review, whether that's with that current company or another company. If these were improvements that were valid, well, let me say this, whether they are valid or not, right? If they said, hey, we want you to improve on this, do whatever you can to improve on it. Be consistent, meeting with your manager on a regular basis, tracking those things and saying, hey, these are some things you wanted me to improve on. This is where I've been improving. I just want to make sure that, we're on the same page. Do you see this improvement? Right? Be specific. All right. Think of the issues you've been made aware of over the past year, right? That could be presented as a negative feedback during your review, and be ready to defend yourself and show improvement. Stick to the facts. I know that when people judge us, whether it's a performance review, whether it's just out in the world, that hits us differently because we know that we're good people. We know that we do our jobs, we do what we're supposed to do, and that can kind of hurt, and it can be emotional when someone is giving you negative feedback. But I want you to be realistic, and I want you to understand that we're not perfect. That everybody has room for improvement. So try to stick to the facts and don't let the emotions come up because it's very easy to do. Just be prepared to, say, hey, yes, I received this last year. These are the things that I've been working on. Or yes, I know that happened in, September. It's now freaking July. I've done this, and this to improve on that. Right. So be ready to kind of defend yourself, but not in an aggressive or, personal way. Think of and be ready to provide feedback on coworkers, your manager, and the company overall. Again, this is not something that's typically going to come up in a performance review, but maybe it's time for you to introduce it. Okay. Go ahead and say, hey, these are some things that I noticed about Bonnie over here. Or I noticed about she does a great job doing this. Or, there are a few times where Bonnie and I work together and this has happened. Don't try to make it seem that it's like a negative. She does a great job, but this is where, she may need some improvement. And what I will do is tell you, if Bonnie is on your team and there is an issue, try to talk to her first before you say anything to a manager. And then what you can say in this performance review is, Bonnie and I were working on a project. This happened. She was struggling a little bit with time management, but I talked to her, and guess what? Bonnie has a planner. She's doing this. She's doing that. Like Bonnie is like doing a great job now. And then for your manager, just kind of give them some feedback. I like the way you do this. I like it when that happened. I like it when this happened. And then just the company overall. What is the culture like with the organization? How can we improve the culture? Does your company have a DEI program? If not, let's start one. Like, just do whatever you feel would help you want to stay with the company, would help other coworkers want to stay with the company, and then what would help the performance overall for the organization. Okay. Pay attention to how you feel. This is somewhat associated with like the committee participation stuff. Pay attention to how you feel when working on projects. Is there any interest in doing more of this? Is this something that you're not interested in at all? Thinking about this and what you want to do in the future related to your goals. Because at the end of every performance review, there is a discussion about what you want to do moving forward, right? So this will help with that part of the discussion. All right. Then make notes of any obstacles you faced in trying to accomplish the different tasks that you have been assigned. Assistance you could use in the future, like make note of those things just to say, hey, these are some things that I faced. And then you can talk to your manager and say, hey, is there anything that we can do? And one more time, if you're meeting with them on a regular basis, you can bring those things forward as you're going through them versus sitting back and just struggling through them and trying to figure it out. Don't do that. If you have an issue, if you have an obstacle, bring it to your manager's or your supervisor's attention and let them know. Because if they don't know, they can't help you, right? Make notes of trainings, resources, etc., that would make you more effective and efficient in your role. Within organizations, I know that in certain roles, they tend not to spend a lot of money there. Those are typically going to be your hourly jobs. They're working on the floor. They're, kind of in the mix. Basically, you're learning on your job, right? If something happens, and say, for instance, you're in manufacturing, right? They get a new piece of equipment. They're going to train you on that equipment to make sure that, you got that. They're going to train you in harassment. They're going to train you in all the things that they are required to train you in. But when it comes to training you in something a little bit more, say for instance, you're an employee, you come to work, you do your job, and you think you might want to be a supervisor, right? Make note of that and tell them, hey, I want to be a supervisor. This is something I want to do. I know that I need training, dealing with people, or, dealing with payroll or managing these systems. Like, what can I do? Right. Um, and then, just doing your job. Of course, that'll make you do your job better. But even if you feel like you could train with another employee to better understand the process, because nowadays, even not just nowadays, but a few years ago, people bring you into these positions, put you out there and just go. And you don't get the training that you need. That's in all these jobs. They'll give you the safety training that you need, but they don't give you the training that you need to be able to understand the job effectively and efficiently. So be mindful of that. And if you don't feel like you've gotten that training, bring that to their attention, especially in your first 90 days, because if you ain't getting a job, they can terminate you. So unless they're, some people have shorter 90-day, periods or whatever, but just be mindful. And then save examples of when you and your team have been successful together, where you and your coworkers stood out. Whether that is me and Bonnie are working on a project, we're on, our team, but then we're working with another group or other departments on this project. Hey, we pump each other up, right? We're both doing a good job. Let's talk each other up in our performance reviews, and again throughout the year. If there are meetings, if there are conversations being had, make sure that you are also including that. My coworker and I worked on this project. We did this. Not I did this or they did that. We both are doing this together. So any work that you do is work that I do, unless we're not equally participating. Now, if we're not equally participating, then that's an issue. But hopefully everybody is doing their part, right? Okay. What to actually bring to, I skipped something. Did I skip something? I feel like I skipped the definition. I think I did when we first got started. Okay. So first and foremost, a performance review meeting is basically when you sit down with your manager. We are face to face. This is a two-way conversation. We are discussing, my performance, the employer, the company, as well as my manager and how my manager has been doing, right? It's a two-way conversation. So bring a pen, a notebook, or a journal, whatever you choose to use, and definitely your confidence, okay? And the facts. Stick to the facts. Bring organized, supportive documentation, list of accomplishments, accolades, and areas of improvement. We all have them, so don't act like you don't. Bring thoughtful feedback on coworkers, your manager, and the organization. And then a list of your goals and interests and ideas of what you want to do next, okay? So that this can be a full conversation. Your manager, if this is going to happen for the first time, your manager or supervisor may not be ready for all of this, but I want you to present it and be ready, to present your side and make sure that they understand that you are taking your job seriously. You don't want to just be in this role for the rest of your life. You don't want to just take their little minimal increases every year. You are looking to grow yourself and your career, whether that's with them or with another organization. Okay. And Bonnie, I know I skipped. Hold on. Okay, let me go over the definition right quick. A two-way conversation between a manager, supervisor, and employee about the performance impact, development, and growth. It's a component of the organization's overall performance management strategy. So they, whenever, they talk about performance reviews, it's about the overall organization. So as I was saying, you should come with feedback on for you, your coworkers, your manager or supervisor, and the company itself, right? All right. So prep for your next role. Again, I don't want any of us to be in the same role for the rest of our lives. Whether that is, you can be in a role that's one of those roles where, what are your levels in your job? Did y'all have like senior, like what are the levels? Okay. Okay, so you have the first level, then you have the lead or senior, then lead, then project specialist. Like I want you to be able to go through that process. I don't want you to just be in the regular level, that lower level role for the rest of your career. I want you to grow in that job if that's what you like to do, right? Or I want you to say, hey, I've been this, I've been that. Now I think I want to do this. But you need to be ready for that, right? And just with the company itself, is this a company that you want to stay with, right? Whether it's a government job, a public job, or a private organization, is this where you want to be? So, first of all, you need to recognize what you are dealing with, right? And when I say what you're dealing with, what kind of company are they? Are they progressive? Do you still have a good old boy network? Like, do you have a manager and a supervisor who's over you who are buddy buddy? You make a complaint about your supervisor, and the manager got their back 100%. No matter what they're doing, they got their back. They're looking out for them. You're never going to be able to go anywhere. Recognize what you are dealing with first and foremost before you start making decisions about where you want to go, right? And then once you understand where you are, understand what you need to do to either stay there and grow with that company or get yourself to a point where you can leave and, go somewhere else. Be realistic and honest with yourself, right? Again, we're not all perfect. I know that we all struggle with different things, but you have to be able to manage whatever that is, whatever that issue is that you have. I know when I first started working like a real job, I was late all the time. I'm not a morning person. I was late. I'm telling you, I was late. It was like 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there. But I had one of those managers that was just on it every day, on it. I was like, damn, I'm gonna be late. I don't want to be late, but it is what it is. Eventually, I did get wrote up, and from there, I got myself together because I didn't want to lose my job. But even in that, if you are one of those people that is a negative Nancy at work, or what you call a petty Betty at work, like be realistic with yourself. If that's who you are, do you really think somebody's gonna want to put you in a supervisor role? Or as if you do make it there, do you think your employees are gonna really want to work for you, or are they gonna be looking for other jobs or looking to get from out from under you, right? So be realistic and honest with yourself about who you are and what you're doing within the organization. Bonnie kind of spoke to some of this too, like, just be the employee that you want to be, right? First and foremost. And then focus on, how you can get to where you want to grow into in whatever position you want to grow into. Show interest and be vocal, right? We all have team meetings. Well, for the most of us, there are team meetings happening, right? Whether they're monthly, every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. Show interest in what the company is doing. Ask questions, make comments. Don't just sit in all the meetings and not say anything. You gotta let people know that you're interested and you want to be there and you want to do something more. Use your resources, um, friends that you have, people that you used to work with at your old organization, right? We all have had jobs before our current jobs. Even church members, like whatever it is, use your resources. Whether you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for someone to like just mentor you, if you know someone who's in a role that you want to be in, prepare for that role by working with someone who's in that role. They can help you understand what that role requires and what you should be doing. And if they say, hey, you need to know how to manage people, or you need to know how to, do this or do that, find a training for yourself. Even if your company won't provide that training for you, find trainings for yourself. Again, I've told y'all, YouTube has almost everything you need. We now know that Google offers several trainings on their website for free that you can, get. And then there's also paid training that you may have to come out of your pocket and do to better yourself, right? Just be open in general, be open to new things, be open to, your thoughts in your mind and saying, hey, what am I interested in? Is this really what I want to do? Do I want to work for the company, or do I want to try to, do my own thing and do a consulting business, depending on what kind of degree or role you're in? Be open and be open to other people's ideas, their thoughts. Everybody's not going to agree with you. Especially here in North Carolina, we know that certain people think very different just in this, state or town, or even in a small town. People think differently. Just be open. If there's a discussion, have the discussion. But again, keep it strictly to the facts. Do not get emotional. Manage up. Manage up means I'm in an entry level position, or I've been in my job for 5 years And I want to basically be that employee that a manager would love. Help your manager, help them, to do their job well. Come to work on time. If you see that an employee is struggling with understanding something, ask your manager if you can help them. You know, help, be helpful, be understanding, be that person that they can call on to, assist with different things that are happening. Get you an accolades file or start you an accolades file in a journal. So I think Bonnie does this too. Have like an email or a folder that you actually, if you get an email from a client or something that says, oh my God, you did a great job on this. I really appreciate your patience, et cetera, put that in that file. Hold on to that because when it's time for your performance review, you got that there. A journal, write down things that you and your manager have discussed and the improvements. Oh, and yes. Write down things that you and your manager have discussed. And as Bonnie just said, always go into a meeting with a journal. Take notes, even if you're just acting like you're interested. Take notes. People look at that and they acknowledge that. But then if you take notes, because somebody may come back to you and ask you, did you get what they said about such and such? And I mean, I saw you taking notes. So just be mindful that somebody might actually come back and ask. Meet with your manager on a monthly basis, right? I think this is very important because it helps to get the two of you on the same page. You know what you want to do, they know what you want to do. They should know what you need to do to get there, right? And they should be helping you to get there. So, with that being said, be mindful that not all managers are good managers. Not all managers are going to like you. Not all managers are going to want to help you get to where you need to be. However, in this type of situation, most of them are going to be held accountable because if you are going through a performance review process and these are the goals that has been set for you and you are going to your manager saying, hey, these are the goals, that we set for me. These are how do I accomplish them? They're kind of required to help you accomplish those goals, right? So if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, then sometimes you're going to have to go over their heads. I don't, condone that on a regular basis, but whenever you see that it's really not working, then I say yes. Develop a checklist, right? From your performance review, things that you know you need to work on, whether it is your goals that you're working on or areas of improvement. Stick it on your board, stick it on your computer, on a post-it note, or if it's in your notebook, put it on the first or the last page of your notebook so that you know where it is and you can constantly check it to be sure that you're on the right track. Do the basics, come to work, do your job. They pay you to be there. If there's any issues or situations going on, talk to your manager about it. Don't tell them too much information, especially if it's related to health. If you have FMLA, use your FMLA the way it's supposed to be used. But they pay you to do a job, so come and do it. And don't start any trouble. Don't be, these negative people. Come in and do your job. And I know that sometimes the work environment or the work culture can kind of make you feel like, you have to, act a certain way because you need to defend yourself or, just be this person that they know that they just can't get over on or, treat a certain way. But at the same time, there's always people over you. So you just want to be in a position where you're not doing too much or being too much or putting yourself in a position to get terminated, right? And again, as we always say, invest in yourself, take classes, do whatever you need to do, join associations, whatever it is. Just invest in yourself and make sure that you are doing what you need to do on your end to make you, someone that I want to have on my team or someone that this other organization wants to have on their team and pay more money, right? And then practice self-care. Because if you're not any good, you can't be any good for your family, your friends, and definitely not your job, especially if you don't like being there. So that's going to make it even worse. So just take care of yourself. Get your nails done. Go get a massage. Take time to just walk the neighborhood, just to have a few minutes to yourself. Put that phone down and just don't do anything like Instagram, Facebook. Put that stuff away, especially Facebook. I'm on Facebook randomly just to like promote things. Every now and then I may post something personal, but I see people on Facebook and they are literally there constantly all day long. I can't take all of that. It's so much negativity on Facebook. I'm just like, oh, like I don't even want to be like, I go on posts. I may go down like maybe three posts down. And I'm by that time I've gotten something that I don't want to see and I'm over it. So please stay off Facebook. Especially at work when you're supposed to be working and focusing on your job and your goals and your career development. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a little bit of a step back, right? And we're going to talk about code switching and allyship. Bonnie's going to kind of go over code switching because this is something that she's passionate about. And then I'll come back and do allyship.
Hi. So code switching. I think in the last 3 years, we've heard more about code switching than we probably care to share. But code switching, simply, I know LaShawn has a definition for it. But code switching is typically the a lot of times it's referred to with Black people, but we can honestly say it's just minorities, especially if English is not your first language. So understanding when we go into it, a lot of times a great description of code switching is like, I'm speaking to you right now. This is Bonnie's professional voice. But then there's Sister Girl. Hey, how you doing? Uh, how can we, so some people, that makes some people uncomfortable. And so we have to understand, uh, as we are coming into like in this season that we're just in, we have to learn how to embrace who we are as a people, um, especially when we're minorities. Again, English is not your first language, but you have to be okay because I found that sometimes what can happen is people you could get in your head and you will refrain from speaking because you're like, oh, I don't want to say anything and sound crazy. But I want you to start being conscious of, even when you're just hanging with your girlfriends, how you speak. Um, because there's a time and place for all things. The Bible tells us there's a time and a place for all things. There's a time where I could be with LaShawn and it's, hey girl, hey. And then there are times we go into a straight professional mode. It's like a click. It happens. But understand, people do judge. Um, Expand your vocabulary. It's okay. Know when to turn Sister Girl on and off. I don't care as we continue to move into this. There are a lot of things that's changing in the workplace where like abbreviations, like how we text, is going to a place of now that's being acceptable in the workplace. Now, for my youngsters on here, my young bucks on here, yes, if you send me a text, my nieces will tell you. I'm like, what does that mean? So even for us older ones, our more seasoned professionals, we need to be aware of that as well, because now we are moving into a generation where there are 3 to 4 generations. We have the millennials, we have the Gen Xers, we have the Gen Z, we still have some baby boomers that's hanging around. We have to be mindful and we have to be diverse in how we speak. When you step into those meetings, companies want people that their language is acceptable across the board. You can still allow your personality to shine and make you unique, but also make sure when you step into these environments that you are presenting your best self. I don't care if you're the mailman, I don't care if you're a receptionist, I do not care if you're the janitor. There is always room for improvement. But this whole code switching thing, be mindful of it. And sometimes you need to come to yourself like, hold up, this is just how I speak. And I have to be okay with that because this is who I am. So when you step into those meetings, you speak, you speak. Because what happens sometimes when we code switch, we'll stop talking, we'll go silent, and then, or either we try to say something, we're being lax with it. So be mindful of the code switching and do not judge others, that if you see them stumble and things of that nature, that it's not because they don't have the ability to do something. It's just they probably are uncomfortable. Okay.
All right, and then I'll kind of piggyback off that a little bit. I I'll admit I struggle a bit with people and their speech sometimes. It like literally like, oh god, I cringe when I hear people say certain things, especially like during interviews and things like that, because I know the negative impact that's gonna have on those other individuals that are in, that interview with me, or who's going to be at the end of the day saying, hey, do we want to hire this individual or not? So if even if you guys speak well, do what you need to do. If you have coworkers or people that you feel like you can talk to, even if they're family members or whatever, kind of, make them aware of this, because it's so it the way you talk, unfortunately, can either get you a job or not get you a job, or get you a position. You may get the entry level job, but you may not make it to where you really want to be because you don't speak proper English, right? And it's unfortunate, but it's true. Okay. All right. Now, allyship. So I'm going to read a definition. Allyship is an active, consistent, and arduous practice of unlearning and re-evaluation in which a person holding systematic power and privilege seeks to end oppressions in solidarity with a group of people and or individual who is systematically disempowered. An ally is a person, typically a white coworker, manager, supervisor, that actively promotes and aspires to advance the culture of inclusion through intentional, positive, and conscious efforts that benefit people as a whole, right? So basically, in a nutshell, this is a white person within an organization who is about that life, right? They want, everybody to be included. They want everybody to be able to, do everything that I can do, you should be able to do, right? You have those that may take it a little bit too far, but at the same time, these are people who can help you get to where you need to be, especially in these good old board organizations. They can help you, get on a project and, show others that you have certain skills. They'll put your name out there. They'll do whatever they need to do to help you grow and, and grow within the organization, grow personally, career wise, as well as within the organization, or help you get out of there and get a better job somewhere else. Right. So, but there are some warnings that come with this. We know the history of some people, and we know that they can use you as a, what do you call it, a jumping board for themselves. So be mindful, be careful, but at the same time, if you see somebody in your organization who has, somewhat of some, systematic power and privilege, who's willing to help, connect with them, talk to them. These are those people that are going to speak up for you in performance reviews. These are going to be those people that are going to speak up for you when the company says, hey, we got a project we're trying to do over here, whatever it is. Oh, such and such would be great for that. I noticed she has these skills, da 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 da, or he has these skills, da 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 da. And they're going to be that person to kind of get you in front of the people, get you a seat at the table, per se, and help you to grow your career. But again, be careful. Now, an ally can also be a Black person who is in a role, a higher level role. We have a friend who's a VP in an organization, and his main focus is DEI, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion, and he's 100% about it. The CEO is about it in his organization. So if he can help someone of color, be promoted, or have their name come up in a conversation, he does that whenever he has the opportunity, right? So just be mindful of that. There are Black people within these organizations who also want to help you grow, and who can be a confidant and a mentor in some of these organizations. But again, same warning, look, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, just FYI. So be mindful of that as well. But these people do exist. And if you do have them within your organization, connect with them. Even if it's not on a really personal basis, don't tell them too much, but just kind of, let them know that you're there and what you're interested in doing. And they might end up helping you without you even, making it clear that you're looking for their assistance. All right. So this is one, I actually had a conversation with one of my friends about this the other day. Doing the job, but not getting the title or the pay. This happens a lot. And typically what happens is throughout the years, or, the path may be, you're in this role, this role, this role, this role, kind of like what Bonnie has within her organization. And you kind of follow that path, right? After you've been in your role for a certain amount of time, they kind of automatically put you there as long as you're doing your job, and they feel like you deserve it. But then sometimes they'll get you stuck. So you'll be in this role, but they actually have you doing this role and this role. And the second role is the second level where you should be. and where you should be getting the title and the money, right? But you're not getting the title and the money. What do you do with those situations? Okay, I have two different responses for this. The first one is the HR professional response. Stay professional, play the long game, find out if there's any negative perceptions of you, or if you know that there are some negative perceptions of you. Figure out what those things are, work on those. Ask for a career development plan. Say, hey, I know I've been in this role for 5 years or however many years. Typically, no one stays in this role this long. They've been promoted here by now. What do I need to do to get there? Right? Make them put you on a career development plan. Consider the benefits of the organization in all. Don't get emotional. Don't quit your job. Just, consider the benefits of being with the organization and hold on to that. Enhance your personal brand online. This is typically going to be your LinkedIn account, your resume, things like that is what I'm referring to. Do those trainings, get all the knowledge that you can get. You doing both jobs, put that on your resume. I'm doing both jobs, so I need to put that on my resume so that when I do decide to leave, I'll have that on my resume and they'll know, oh, she's been in this role, but she has been, doing this role as well. Ask for a raise anyway. Say, hey, I'm doing both of these jobs. I know I don't have the title, but I feel like, I'm doing a lot of this job. Even though I'm not doing all of it, I want a raise. Ask for it, whether you get it or not. All they can say is no, but you still ask, right? And they know that you're interested. You put it out there. They know that you're serious, because most of us won't even take that step, won't ask for the raise, right? So women and Black people won't ask for the raise because they feel they don't deserve it, or they're not going to give it to me, or whatever the case may be. But I still say ask for it anyway, because you're kind of pushing them a little bit now. They know you're serious. They know you're not playing. They know that you do a job, or you wouldn't be doing both of these roles, but they know what's up. They, most of the time, they don't want to lose you, right? Most of the time they don't want to lose you because they know that you know what you're doing and you're one of those people that they can go to. So ask for the raise. And then the other thing that you can do for is ask for a mentor, right? I'm doing both of these jobs. I'm not understanding why I'm not getting the promotion. Give me a mentor. Maybe they can help me get there. Maybe they can help me with these little things that you guys see that I'm not doing or that I'm not doing right. Ask that. Okay. All right. Now, from an HR friend perspective, I'm going to say yes, stay professional, but process your emotions, because your emotions can have you thinking and doing things that sometimes, that just aren't right. Be strategic. Okay. Don't just be out here doing random stuff. This is your job. This is your livelihood. Most of us kind of need it. So don't put yourself in a crazy situation where you get fired, right? And then look at what they're saying. So typically, so with my friend that I was talking to the other day, she's in this role. She's been skipped over. I think she said twice. She's in a lead position. She's trying to get to a supervisor position to get the money because she's doing both jobs, right? So she says she's been, skipped over twice. 2 years of performance reviews. They keep telling her, you're not ready, but they're not really giving her any specifics as to why she's not ready, right? So of course I advised her, if it doesn't make sense, like you need to start asking them for specifics. Like, what do I need to do specifically to get there, right? Then she also has an issue where a few years ago, she brought a complaint against her supervisor because he was doing some stuff that was kind of discriminatory based on race. And the complaint literally went all the way up to the CEO, right? And she had a situation where her supervisor and the manager are like really close, right? So I guess he was able to talk them out, got a good talk game. So he was able to talk his way out of it. And what they ended up doing was having him to take a diversity and inclusion training, but they didn't write him up. They didn't terminate him. They didn't do anything when he probably should have been based on what she was telling me. But because, it's my word against yours. And, they basically, and he has the manager's, back, or the manager has his back. So he kind of, was able to get out of that. So I think that's kind of there as well. So I told her that she needs to basically, if she wants to stay with the job, she needs to basically just, I hate to say this, kiss a little tail and, do what she needs to do to get on their good side. Because outside of that, with her having that negative thing against her. And she is one of those people that's kind of petty, and she knows that he has a friend that now works there who really wants her job. She's a level below her and she wants her job. And her thing is, I'm not going to leave because I don't want her to get the job. And I know they'll basically give it to her, even though she don't know what she's doing. But I said, listen, that doesn't make sense. If you want to stay with the company, then you got to do what you need to do. However, if it doesn't make sense, like what they're telling you versus what's happening, if it doesn't make sense, then you might want to either start getting your funds together to get out of there, or you need to go talk to someone else and find out what's happening. But again, going to talk to someone else could even have more impact on her, because now she's going over this person's head who's already, got this other guy's back. So be mindful. Look at what they're saying as it relates to what you need to do to get to where you need to be versus what's actually happening. Are those things matching up? Does it make sense? Even if you don't kind of know about it, ask a friend. Listen, this is a situation that I have going on. Does this make sense to you? And then if it's not working the way you want to, ask them for specifics, ask them for a career development plan, right? And then in her situation, I told, just based on everything that I know about the situation, I told her that she needs to be thinking about getting out of there, because as long as that guy is her supervisor and is able to make any decisions about her job, she's probably never going to be able to move unless she goes to a different department. And typically with that, he's even going to have say in that. Now, this girl, the team that she leads, they save the company, I think she said at least $1 million or $2 million every month. Everybody that she trains well. They know the job when they leave her. They go to different departments when they leave her. Like, she is doing her job, and she comes to work on time. She's there every day, unless it's a vacation day or something that she has going on. But she is one of those employees that is a good employee to have on your team, because she knows what she's doing. She's there and she can answer any question. She remembers everything. She's been with the company, I think, like 10 years now. And she can give you data from 10 years ago. Like, that's how intelligent she is. So, but I told her, I was like, these are your options. Either you kiss a little bit of butt and do what you got to do there, or you need to be preparing yourself to leave. So she is preparing herself to leave. But one of the things that she did say to me, and this kind of my last little bullet point down there, she said, but I will lose 5 weeks of vacation. Now, what I told her was, just because you're leaving one organization and going to another organization does not mean that you're going to lose your vacation time. What typically happens with most organizations, they know you've been in this field for all of this time. You have all of this expertise. You can do all of these things for us at our company. They're willing to compromise and give you some of that time, and give you, like, they're willing to, negotiate these things. So don't automatically say, I don't want to leave because of this or because of that. Because again, as I've said before, companies are willing to be flexible for the right person. And if they want you, they'll be willing to do what you need them to do to get you, right? I'm gonna go back up. Make your network aware. Let people know, I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do here. Whether it is I'm thinking about looking for another job, I need to get my resume together. I haven't interviewed in 10 years. Can you practice with me, for interviews? Like, whatever it is, do y'all have any job openings? Like, what is it that I can do to get out of here, right? And you also have to prepare yourself to leave. I told you guys last time, get your money right, get your savings, get your emergency fund, make sure your 401k straight, like, get your bills down. If you can eliminate something, and position yourself to be where you don't, I'm not going to necessarily say need this job, but you put yourself in a position where if I have to leave this job because it's just getting to be too much, then I can leave and not have to feel like, oh my God, I'm going to be homeless tomorrow, right? But do what you have to do to get yourself together financially. And then the good thing about it is you have a job, right? You have a job. Go ahead and put your resume out there. It don't hurt to put your resume out there, especially now, since most companies are doing these interviews via Zoom and, not in person. So you technically, especially if you're working from home, you don't have to leave your house to go do an interview or take time off work to go do an interview, right? So Be thoughtful about that too. Like when you're doing interviews, if you are on site at your job, um, you can tell them that you have an issue related to like a doctor's appointment or something. You can make these interview appointments doctor appointments, but you also have to have the sick leave or the time to take off. You know what I mean? Like you can just say I have a procedure that I have to do, and yeah, it's okay to tell a little fib. I'm sorry. They do things to us that we gotta be creative sometimes. I have to have a procedure done over the next couple of weeks. I may have to use sick time or vacation time on random days. Go ahead and make them aware. They think it's a medical procedure or something that you have. They can't ask no questions. They can't ask for details. It's none of their business. Um, and the only time that they can, ask, well, they really can't ask for specifics anytime. But if you decide to take FMLA, you do not need to take FMLA to do these interviews. But do it strategically and make sure that you know what you're doing. And try to do them. If they say, we can interview tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday, say, I'll take Thursday. So you can prepare your manager. I'm going to need to go do this interview or whatever. I'm going to use a vacation day. Don't do it tomorrow, especially if you have an option, because that kind of puts your manager in a bad position because you're doing it last minute. So be strategic in what you're doing, right? All right. And then once you prepare yourself to do what you need to do, start looking for a job. Make sure your resume is together. Make sure your resume is, looks nice. Make sure that your resume has keywords for the type of role that you're looking for. Typically, you can Google those. Sometimes you can find those words just listed online, depending on what kind of position you're in. But just make sure that your resume and everything is together so that, when you're putting it out there, you're ready. Don't lie on your resume. If you are doing two jobs, make that clear, but just also make it clear that that's not your actual title, but that you are doing both jobs. My friend had a concern. She was like, if I start looking for jobs, aren't they going to want to call my employer? No. On most applications, they have a box that says, can I contact your current employer? No, because we in HR understand, companies understand, you have a job, you're looking. However, I don't want my current employer to know that I'm looking for another job because they may try to terminate me or do something stupid. We understand that. So no, if you don't want them to contact your current employer, you don't have to give them that option, and they understand that. Now, when it comes to references, you will need to give them references, but it can be anybody that works in that organization who knows what you're doing. If you have someone that you can trust, then I say yes, give them that option to call that individual. But if you don't have nobody that you can trust, which is, I don't know, that's a bad thing, y'all. If y'all don't have anybody that y'all can trust at your job, then you probably don't need to be there anyway. But hopefully you have someone at your job that would be willing to say, hey, yes, I'll do that for you, right? And then give them as many references as you can from previous employers who will give you a positive review as well. Okay. All right. And as I tell you guys all the time, you are responsible for your own career, right? Even though we go through these steps, we go through these performance reviews with these organizations, you are responsible for your career. It's up to you what you do, right? It's up to you to go to work and do your job. It's up to you to do your job well. It's up to you to decide if I want to, advance in this career, if I want to switch up and go do something else. You always have the option to go to school. You're not at work 24 hours a day. You can go to school and study for something else. It's up to you what you want to do. You're not stuck at this one job or this one company for the rest of your life. There's so many opportunities out there. So you just need to be ready so you don't have to get ready. Put yourself in a position to where you can do whatever you want to do when you need to do it. And as Jeremy says, trust God, which is Bonnie's husband. Season plus time, purpose, right? The season is right, the timing is right. Explode your purpose. So just make sure that you're in line there, and then be realistic. Like know when to adjust. Like with my friend, she's in a horrible situation right now. It's stressful for her to go to work. It's just, and it's affecting her health at this point, but she was willing to stay there and do what she needed to do because she's hoping that they're going to give her this job so that she can start making this certain amount of money. But I keep telling her, you can leave that job today and you can probably get that same amount of money somewhere else, right? But just be realistic and know when it's time to adjust, and that will definitely help you out. And then again, I've said this before as well. If you know better, you have to do better, right? Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children." Breaking generational curses. When you are dealing with, your career, which is a major part of everybody's lives, because that is our livelihood. That's how we pay our rent. That's how we drive these nice cars. That's how we go to these nice dinners. Like, that's how we're able to do a lot of the stuff that we do in our lives that we enjoy, our vacations. That's how we do that. So as you are going through life, at this point, you know better. You know what to do to prepare for your performance review. You know what you need to do as an employee in an organization. So you have to do better and be an example for your kids. Share information with your kids. Whenever you gain knowledge in something, share that information with your kids. Finances, these other trainings that we have coming up, health, knowledge about whatever it is. Share that information with your kids and make sure that they don't have to start from ground zero. They know a little something now, you know what I mean? Because you've been sharing with them. So you're giving them a step up. You're giving them the game, right? So break generational curses that have been plaguing us as Black people for the longest time. And I don't know, Bonnie, you got anything else? If anybody wants to talk to me, like to do a one-on-one assessment, please reach out to me. I can talk you through any type of situations you may be have going on at work. If you really, you really don't understand what's happening, I may be able to, help you out and give you a little bit of insight. I'm not going to steer you in the wrong direction. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know, right? But if you give me, and if you're going to ask me a question, you got to be willing to give me all the information. I'm not going to spread your business. I don't do that. But if you have a situation going on and you need to kind of talk it through and understand what's happening, I'm willing to do that. My email is there, my phone number is there. Let me know. All right. Back to Bonnie. Thank you guys. I appreciate, or ladies, or whoever's on this call. I feel like men be in the background not saying nothing, but whoever, thank you so much.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, LaShawn.